Morning, Ramesh.
Hello, Sri. How was your weekend?
Weekend was good, busy. A lot of activities, a lot of news to follow. But you're back
What
on
hit
our
your
grind.
head? What's the biggest news?
There was a bunch of good and bad news. There is,
Tell us the bad news. Let's get that.
yeah, I
out of the way.
think there was a stampede which could have been avoided. In the day and age where we're talking about AI, and even I'm sure you want to bring something about AI.
I wish AI could manage crowds.
Correct. You still we talk about AI and next generation. We're talking about a lot of things which things can disrupt. But fundamental things there was news in US where somebody just got in, started shooting in the church. There's in India people die because of crowd mismanaged. So I wish some of these fundamental problems are also being looked at.
And we also had India emerging the winners of the Asia Cup.
Yeah, that was last night, but yeah, that's where it is. Like all the AI things, all the different things you're talking about. Hopefully, someday it helps.
That's no AI. That's real play.
Makes people live better, simpler.
It
Manage
was good
crowd.
to see.
Right?
Also good to see India beat Pakistan 3 consecutive times in a tournament.
Correct.
To
Correct.
emerge victorious.
That is phenomenal feeling.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
right? Takes
But,
us on top of the world.
But the irony, Ramesh, I know what I was just thinking about the whole crowd management thing. There were so many drones, hundreds of them. Maybe like few dozen of them maybe, flying on the top of the people. But it couldn't really find or predict the crowd.
You don't know what are there in the drones. They're actual cameras or just some kind of a fans that were more coolants. We don't know. Hopefully, but nevertheless, I hope we get the better of these things. Of course, because I do hear that the government is investing a lot in AI drones, and a lot of. I mean, we hear that the entire area where the ministers live is now looked by some 72 cameras, just not 72. It's like various technologies that are there. So on one end that we got to wait and see what it predicts, what it looks like. But this is yet another episode of Outbound with High Performer, right? And as we speak about what's happening around our neighborhood, we also talk a lot about AI. We talk a lot about SaaS. And today, Sri and I decided to talk about what's the real moat. What's the moat for AI companies these days? Is it more like the brand? Is it more UX? Is it more business operational efficiency? Or is it data? So, Sri came across the line the other day that really stuck with me, which we've been always talking about. We really can't market quality anymore, right? It's really hard because
Correct.
Every time we speak to a customer and we say, hey, we have the best data, workflows are great, but it's the data that brings you business, and you can't, it's really hard to market that because everyone says the same thing. But we also add that, hey, if it's data, then you can only if it's quality, then you can only experience it. So go in for high performer and try that out. But that really caught me thinking, right? What builds this long-term defensibility? Right?
Okay.
Is it like as a startup, it's the two of us who are really shouting out there about our brand, right? Given the state we are in.
Yeah.
Or so is it the brand in terms of long-term defensibility, or the UX that we kind of get in? Hey, get in and everything is picture perfect. You get to do, or is it data, right? Or is it just the speed of execution from many other companies? Specifically the category in which high performer plays. Every new day you are seeing a new player coming in, right? So what do you think?
So it's very interesting question, Ramesh. I think like what is the real moat for AI? Is it brand, UX, data, or even the speed of execution? I think we have, in our own part, we have spoken about these topics. We have spoken about distribution being, we have spoken about
another one,
speed of execution is all of that. But I think if you look at it, it's in a way changing so fast. I think it also becoming in a way funny as well. If you look at it 10 years back, the moat was always distribution and capital. Right? Whoever could spend
more money,
more on ads, events, sales teams, and distribute broadly deeper, right, would always win. But now everything, I think now pretty much everybody has access to, all of these things in some form or shape, right? Distribution is cracked, fairly the same AI, same channels. Then the real question is that isn't about the aspect of we building something, right? The question is, do we have a setup where we could compound faster? I think that's how things are moving right now.
Compound faster. That's a pretty interesting take, right? So it's not just like who can move faster, who can compound based on what you've already done, double down on that and go much faster.
Correct.
So let's look at this new meaning of moat per se, right? We'll try and break it down in this podcast and see what that is. Brand earns trust.
Correct.
UX, everyone is trying to build a habit. And to your point, when you're talking about compounding, data really helps compound, right? It helps compound intelligence much faster. All three equally powerful, very much needed, but they defend you in three different ways altogether.
Correct.
Right? So how do you think, Sri, that when you say data compounds it all?
So I think, Ramesh, I think things are changing for sure. Right? AI is asking us to revisit these questions every quarter. Right? We used to do it every 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. So now the brand could get you into the door or into my inbox. Right? Somebody might click that. The UX or the product, right? Will keep me use the product. It might make it sticky, right? But the data is what makes us smarter over a period of time. What I mean by data, the data which is sensible, the data which gives you insights. Because today, all products like SaaS products per se, right, or AI products specifically, customers are looking to basically understand some AI, insights, understanding to get some tasks done, automation done. So all of that can happen only when the data compounds, right? We have to learn from email to the response of what activities are happening. Different aspects of things which were considered manual configuration have to be automated today. So which means that the data is not only about, let's say, in case of a CRM, I take this example coming from CRM, is that it's not about only the amount of contacts and companies you have.
That's static data.
But what about the activities which the contacts and the companies or your sales team is doing across different systems? Could be your email, could be your meeting, could be anything, everything else, right? And that should compound. So the challenge is that there's no point in keeping the system very static in nature. I cannot basically sell a CRM which has just the list of the contacts and companies anymore, right? None of them standalone bring any value today, right? So what happens is that now we need to learn that, hey, these products, what we're trying to build, including the SaaS and the AI products, should loop these data points together and try to compound them into insights.
Fair enough. I think, interestingly, over the weekend, I was also at a B school.
Correct.
Talking about CRM, AI, CRM, and that was CRM is one of their chapters in sales and marketing. And they were pretty much appalled, right? And first of all, CRM itself is a very confusing topic. If you're at a B school, don't know if it's oxymoron because it's looked upon as a customer relationship management, but it's very internal. It is more, seller-manager relationship management.
It's interesting.
So when we were talking about the data, we were talking about how static data does not really help. And here you're saying, hey, data needs to be really dynamic.
That's a compound.
And it has to compound with other touch points, right?
Correct.
One of the areas is also how you present that data, and therefore UX is still one of the key but invisible moat. It's really hard to go and sell UX to a company, right? Yeah. It's very hard. You can't say, hey, because the place that we are in as well, it's all about integrations and how does data come to you at the right time. It's not necessarily the product UX. So the user experience is very hard sell. It doesn't shout loud. It's impossible to talk about it, right? Companies like Apple are really finding it tough to defend. Right? But when you fix these small micro frictions, right? You're silently giving away data in their Slack saying, hey, your champion has moved jobs from this to this silently through Slack. Suddenly that just seems amazing. But that's once the product is distributed, they're starting using it, and then this piece of user experience comes, and then we silently see that the churn dwindles down, right? It goes down much. But you got to experience this again. It's very hard, right? So UX as a moat, if you take, it is very hard to sell. But at the same time, it's one of the most critical pieces in any AI company that's come
No,
close.
Ramesh, I'll give an example, right? Why UX is still considered very important. Like take an example of OpenAI, right? We had models GPT-2 even before the Chat GPT came into existence, right? It was still there. The GPT-2 was better than one for sure. It was better than much other things out there. So, but when we had Chat GPT, it basically tried to change the way we look at interfaces, the way we look at surfaces, right?
Yeah.
Where we've been interacting with a lot of activities, right? I'll also give an example of what we've been going through. Ramesh, if you remember, we had agencies for doing content and design, right? Each iteration took us days.
Correct.
Right? If not weeks.
Yeah.
But once we moved these processes into a very, AI assisted workflows.
Correct.
Right? Suddenly the iterations were very few days and few hours.
Yeah, actually.
Right? Meaning we have seen that it is in action.
Correct.
Then in about few days time, after we got everything in place, within few weeks time, we saw the traffic going up.
Yeah.
The quality was still better, was improving. Right?
Undoubtedly.
The product experience was tightened because, of course, we should start fixing all of the small bugs which we see, they're still important. But the interface or the UX for the products is moving from being, the forms and the tables. It is moving into the workflow.
Correct.
And the interface is also changing. So that is how the UX is compounding in real time, right?
Yeah.
The UX manifests in different forms and shape today. We're not looking at a form to be filled, right?
Absolutely.
We expect the form to be pre-filled at least,
And there are
the
really
bare
good
minimum.
companies in terms of examples of how UX has, silently compounds in multiple ways. So UX is, we always have Stripe, Linear, Notion as these companies that are pretty.
Yes. I think absolutely the Notion is a very good example. Right?
Yeah.
I'm glad you picked it up, right? If you look at the Notion experience today, they know that customers are buying them for the table, which is better than Excel
Very
sheet.
true.
But today, each of the cell in that Excel sheet is it could be powered by an kind of an AI workflow.
Correct.
Right? And they have integrated. In fact, that's a good example how they've integrated the data from different places. Now they have one for kind of listening the meetings. They have one for email. So these how you basically are pushing these agents to be able to gather the data, which will help the product UX to be better.
Actually, there's a great point, and because you mentioned some of the examples from our past on how we've kind of fixed this.
Yeah.
When we launched publishing as one of our core products when we started up, right? We had this beautiful Kanban board of how the content makes its entry. AI helps you get to the content. How is it moving from an approval stage and then to publishing it? We still didn't have as many buyers until the time someone said, hey, does it integrate with my Notion?
Correct.
Right? And the moment you had that integrated, it was seamless.
Correct.
Because people didn't necessarily want the AI piece of it. They're already doing this particular job. And we were doubling down on the AI side of things where they had already figured that out, the content that needs to go out.
Correct.
All it had to do is get it into a workflow that enabled them to get whatever is there on their Notion board to get it approved and then finally get published. So, right? So that's a great example of how UX, if you bring it in a AI workflow, it just compounds the whole usage of it, right? So that's a great example.
In fact, the way I would look at it, Ramesh, it's not about collecting rows and columns, right, anymore in the product, right? It is about understanding the context. The good example, what you gave about Notion and integrating with high-performance publishing is exactly the same thing because the marketers were still using Notion for some use cases, and they want the data to come in from different places to really, be able to empower their own calendars on Notion, right, for a particular use case, right? So that is the most important thing.
Correct.
So if your system learns a specific
faster
behavior, specific data point, enrich in real time, helps customers act faster. So that's when it compounds.
Yeah.
Right. And it is not about having it confined anymore. It is not about having your data. The moat, which we used to speak like about 10 years back, where don't push any data out of your product, has gone out of the.
Oh, that's a great point, right? Yeah, everyone had to be inside the product. Do not let it go outside.
Correct.
But today, if that's a workflow that you're not getting used to, any product, just not in a CRM.
Correct.
Take any product. It's very hard to get. So that's UX. Let's. What's next?
I think I would look at it like, just to close on that, it's all about data feedback loops, like who learns faster would win it. I mean, that's the way I look at it. A good example, the MCP, right? MCP is becoming the interface for a lot of the systems today, right? But the next one, I would say it's a more emotional, like Moat is the brand, right? When you look at the brand, I think it is more towards the emotion per se. That's what I think. Maybe I would want to see what you think about it, right? Like,
Yeah.
what do you think? Maybe today, in the context of what you've seen today, right? If you look at 5-6 years back, the brand was only for the larger incumbents, right? The smaller companies didn't have both, but today I think things have changed.
Yeah.
The OpenAI didn't even exist 3 years back.
Correct.
The cursor, did you hear about cursor like 1 year back? No.
Very true.
Right? Now, if you go talk to every developer, they know the cursor, they know different products. So now, let's talk about what is this brand aspect.
I think brand is it's a tricky one. How much ever of AI you have, right? Brand is all about the emotion,
Okay,
right?
okay.
What really, AI sometimes just snips the emotion piece of it is what is there in everyone's head. But building a brand is all about emotion, right? Building it's a trust that you want to build with the when each and everyone tries to use your product every single time. It's not necessarily, for a manager it's different, or for a operational guy it's different. Anyone who tries to use your product, the brand plays a role in the way it brings. And today, in all the AI companies that are all young today, right? Any past company of SaaS is also an AI company today, which is young, literally, right? Because that's the equalizer in some sense. AI is just an equalizer. And the strongest brand today are very founder-led. Right? It's not campaigns, but it's a point of view. It's a point of view of every person, because people don't buy any products anymore. They know what's available. It's very easy, but they want to get into a belief system that really works, right? You take examples are, people always swear by Zaps in the past, right? That's the easiest way. Anyone could use it. A marketer could use it. It wasn't just meant for any technical team.
Correct.
Anyone, right? All they said, hey, we can try and get this done. We'll have a Zap included. How cool was that? And suddenly, there is this AI workflow of bringing N8N today, right? That's the beauty of how brands are emotionally connected, where you don't even need to know how to make a Zap work. You have to mention it in words, and that happens, right? So that's the way, irrespective of who wants to use it. I think brand really plays an emotional role over there.
So it's a very interesting point, Ramesh. You mentioned about founder-led and not campaign led, right? That's because in the past, campaign-led, you need to keep churning out campaigns, and it's like a hit or miss, right? And a lot of investment, all of that. But I'll give a good example, right? If you look at HubSpot, you look at HubSpot and you remember HubSpot because of the founders.
Correct.
And today, if you look at ZoomInfo, the founders of ZoomInfo, absolutely all out, even though a large public company, these are two large public companies, right? Very founder-led brand. Right? And you're seeing that more often, right? The OpenAI brand is built by, its founder, right? That's how things are changing, evolving.
True. And you talk about India. India is, talking about the recent effect. It's talking about Zoho.
Yes.
It is very much founder-led.
Correct.
The brand is being built again, and it's not about how much money they're making. It is the founder's vision, the founder, the way they're changing into it. So,
correct. I think just to summarize till what we've spoken, Ramesh, just so that we spoke about brand, which gives you permission, to be heard, and today it's changing from campaign-led to being very founder-led. And UX, kind of creates a stickiness, right? And it needs to be relevant, it needs to be modern, of course, keeps it very, but the data kind of makes it more relevant.
Correct.
So that's a loop. But there's one interesting aspect, right? There is definitely the distribution debate, which you cannot find.
I think before we go to the distribution debate, you did mention about data at the beginning, but let's dive a little deeper into the data piece of it, right? UX brand, of course, but data today plays a major role, and I think that's a critical piece that we have to double down upon. Right? Data today keeps teaching the product.
Correct.
Right? You get into OpenAI today with all the history that you have already.
Absolutely.
Like, look how amazing the output is. It just takes.
Correct.
It remembers the data that it brings in.
Correct.
And you see the output. It's not about collecting rows. It's not about understanding context, or you don't have to give it as much context. More and more data makes it more richer. The context is more richer. And I think that's a very, very important mode today, because if in our business of providing sales intelligence, in providing marketing intelligence, if you're in that system, data is a very critical source, and data is stitched through multiple platforms today, right? You bring in any kind of data from wherever. If it's publicly available, we'll get it. If it's at a person level, we know what they're talking about. And that is very, very, very
Critical.
crucial, right? Like rightly you mentioned, it's just not about the phone number and email. Like just because you have someone's email and phone number doesn't mean you can make a sale.
Correct.
It's how are you looking at the data, right? I heard it very recently somewhere that there are buyers everywhere. Everyone loves
to buy.
Right? Everyone wants to buy. It could be software, or it could be a phone, or anything, or it could be a pair of jeans. But if it's given to you with a lot of context, I think that is what data brings in today.
So that's that. Giving it a context is where I think is important, right? Because like you said, Ramesh, right, it is not in the past, about 5 years, 10 years back, product used to be very siloed.
Yeah.
Right. And we had enterprise companies building, separate platform for integration. Right? We have seen that with Salesforce, MuleSoft, and a lot of people. When you said Zapier, that's the only reason they existed is to break the silo. I think today product are expected to have relevant data, and it can come from external systems as well.
Yeah.
That's the change which is happening. But all of these three things, we spoke about them quite deeply right now, right? But still, Ramesh, I'll ask you, right? Distribution is still is a key part, right? The debate about distribution is very important. With AI, the volume of products and service providers is increased by 10x or if not 100x, and it will continue to increase.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would have seen a lot of reports like AI, all the OpenAI. They may probably pretty much have 50% of all the features any SaaS company is building today. I'll give an example, right? Yesterday, other day, I was trying to integrate OpenAI with my calendar. I would stop using any calendar assistant going forward, because every time I attend a meeting, I've written a small prompt which gives me the summary of the meeting before and after. Right?
Yeah.
So some of these use cases, point solutions, is going to be eaten away by off-the-shelf LLM, whatever you want to call them, right? Now let's come back and talk about about the distribution. Specifically, what is the the relevance or the context about distribution today? As somebody who's been a marketer, been a very GTM heavy person, what do you think?
I think I'm not going to budge if I say that data has taken over distribution today. Data is a very crucial point. The good part about data that I spoke about is data compounds massively today. You have the ability to compound data, and that really is a larger mode. But as far as distribution, you can have the best data, you can still have the best UX, but if you don't have the distribution, then obviously there are lesser takers, and lesser takers means lesser data as well. So I completely agree with the fact that distribution is one of the core modes, and that is not going away. But distribution and data and the UX piece of it is like a flywheel. All three, it can exit anywhere, it can go anywhere. But when as a founder you're putting yourself as the brand, right? That in itself, sets the tone. It sets the next flywheel spinning. But in AI, the moat isn't about who gets the first round, like who's compounding. Distribution doesn't mean I have tons of money. Let's just go put all that money. And then you will see the whole flywheel spinning. I'm just saying that won't happen anymore. It's an equal opportunity for everyone. Distribution is coming across as not as a campaign anymore. It's about how rapidly are you able to change your product in itself for people to use it and put it out there. It's not campaign based anymore. Right?
But there is this is my realization, Ramesh, last 12 months, I would say, like there's a deeper shift. We also spoke about that from, how the scarcity to abundance is happening.
Oh yeah, we spoke about the last
So all of this are coming together, I would say, like most company processes were not very efficient in the past. Right? And a lot of the products and tools were built to ration these kind of critical resources. We spoke about, specifically how a lot of these workflows and products were built to get this structured about these resources, right? And that made sense when human time was a bottleneck.
Correct.
And human resources
itself,
critically, right? The human resources were critical. I think now that is changing, right? Because the way the AI is trying to make it happen, that's what is changing. I think what we're speaking about, how product, moat and all of that is because it's an after effect of that.
Yeah.
I would say the deeper shift. What do you think? I mean, that's what I think. Because the reason why we're talking about it, because all of that what we spoke in the past was about campaigns.
Correct.
Most of the things were campaign led. Even I remember we did a part, we spoke about how the marketing teams would be campaign based.
Correct.
I mean, and that part is now not even relevant right now because things have changed now.
Absolutely.
Right. So what do you think about this deeper shift?
It comes down to the cost.
Okay.
It doesn't matter that the most expensive resource has to just scale, right? And that's the only thing the whole company will rally behind to make that successful anymore, right? We spoke about that in a lot. But AI has completely changed that, right? Expertise is available on demand. You need something, there is an AI, there is an agent that is working for you to get that entire plethora, right? You can run systems in parallel, not in series. We don't have to ration that anymore, to your point. We don't have to say it's abundance, it's no more scarcity, it's scarce.
So it's very interesting, right? Until now, we spoke about moat on the product side, UX side, brand side. What you're bringing is a very critical piece where what is your internal process and how automated they are. For example, the companies are rewriting their GTM workflows, right? To make it very real time, right? So that your workflows open up, the resources which were actually throttled to be available for everybody in your team. What it means is that you're talking about real time research. You're talking about CRMs having always data which is relevant for all the stakeholders, be it your salesperson to the customer success. Today, these are the problems we've been fighting with different tools. If you look at a CRM, if you go look at the revenue teams, on average they use 20 tools. Right? An average. I'm talking about companies which are like just 1 million plus in revenue. You go talk to them, they use minimum 6 to 7 tools, and you ask them, they don't even know why they picked up a particular tool. And that's a reality, Ramesh, whether we like it or not like it, right? That's what is happening. So they will, in essence, those things have been kind of slowing them down, right? So now what you're saying is we can talk about moat in the product. We can talk about things, on
UX, data.
You can talk about brand. You can talk about brand. But the moat will be those companies which are lean but very efficient.
Yeah.
Right. It is not about who's coming in first anymore. Right. It is about companies which can basically
scale.
I'll give an example. Ramesh, is very interesting. Right. Ripple. They're taken like almost 7-8 years or even more to get to like 1 million or 2 million or 3 million. But from 3 million to 30 million was just happened in like how many months?
Figma.
Right? That's another. So that is I think I would even put Figma as a pre-AI. I'm talking about companies like Ripple, which we took like 6-7 years to get to 1 million or even like up to maybe they were sub like 5 million for 7-8 years. Right? Now in few months, once they had the process systems in place and things just opened up, things go. I would say.
I think absolutely right. So the moat isn't always about what you protect. Right? You always have your IP, you have your product, UX, data, and all that you protect. But I think it's about compounding, and compounding doesn't necessarily mean you compound with people today. Right? It's not about having the best resource and keeping that as a secret and trying to compound anymore. It's just about what can keep compounding while you're asleep. And today that is just the speed of execution in which you can run that, right? The faster you learn, the deeper your moat gets, right?
That's very new. You're talking about speed of learning.
Absolutely, right? So because all of this in our world of AI, right? We spoke about it last time in the pod where you don't have to think about scarcity. Okay, this is a campaign. This is the product, this is the person, now let's run with this because this is the best chance of winning. You can fire parallel engines today, just to make sure all of them can run in person, right? All of these modes can run in parallel. And it's not hinging upon a person or a particular resource anymore. So
what you're saying is it's not, let's say, so what's the moat for AI? In the end, we spoke for 20 minutes now. May not be, I think I'm getting a sense that...
I think the real moat is you're not building for scarcity anymore. You're building for abundance, right? And when you're building for abundance, it's always about the speed at which you can learn and the speed of execution. Because this era that we are living in is like an equalizer, right? Every company who's probably been there, right? Of course, they could have a lot of data within them, but if you're not serving the data in a palatable version, that's where the UX comes in. But the UX is only so much that you can do in a large organization. But why is a smaller company, a startup today, being able to take on the larger bigwigs?
I thought it was something else. But what you're saying it may not be the brand. You're saying it is not the product or the UX. And you're now saying that data compounding, if it is there, even that may not be the moat. What you're saying is
Absolutely.
that they as a team
Look at
are
let's look
maybe learning faster than others.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, interesting.
Right? So you look at GPT, the biggest example that we're living in. 2022 October or November is when GPT took like this huge uptick than what AI's graph was, if you remember, right? So no one knew about AI. AI was all meant only for engineers.
Okay.
Machine learning was
Okay.
meant only for and then suddenly you put this whole GPT in the hand of consumers. And we're only talking about 2022 November, and we are in 2025.
But everybody,
right?
but everybody's under pressure to learn. Right? All of that thing, what you're saying, it's a lot of pressure for everybody to learn things because
Absolutely, but
that is what.
But see the speed at which today GPT is probably going on. They started as a startup.
Okay.
You have an interface now, but that doesn't suffice. They're continuously looking at different
Yeah,
models. They're
different things.
integrating with multiple. Like you're talking about ChatGPT in a calendar.
Yeah.
Right?
It's already
you never
there,
thought.
so it's not like,
you never thought about it some time back. So I think it's all about.
And it's a commodity as per. See, now you don't have to. It was not needs to be given for a chosen one right now because today ChatGPT is so much available to everybody. It is democratized AI, right? If you want to say so. So everybody can do it. It's not like anybody and everybody in your team can get access to ChatGPT, whether you like it or not like it, right? That's the way it works now. So in essence, Ramesh, what you're saying is, I initially thought when we started talking, we'll conclude, you'll say data as a mode, but apparently
I did hinge upon data quite a bit.
So, but I mean, interesting, very interesting, right? In the world of AI today, AI era, it doesn't matter what you do, right?
Yeah.
It is not about the brand anymore. It's not about the UX of the product anymore. And more importantly, it doesn't matter you can't 100 different sources for data and all of the stuff,
Yeah.
right? It is all about your team and how well they actually learn, how well they actually spin the the flywheel.
Flywheel, yeah.
It's not about having a flywheel per se. It's all about how fast you can spin it. I mean, that's the way we look at it. But,
Absolutely, as they say,
it was
right?
fun.
If it's not about in this AI era, it's not about protecting a castle anymore. It's about how fast your flywheel is spinning.
Okay, very interesting, Ramesh. This is a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think. I know it might come as a very different angle to how we think what is motives, but I think this is how it is. I think we're also learning, and hopefully we're learning fast enough to crack what you're doing.
Absolutely. With that, thanks a lot for
Thanks,
tuning in.
guys.